Today I have an award-winning band from Edmonton, Alberta on the line, the Dungarees. They were recognized in 2016 with their hit I'm Down, followed by Anywhere With You in 2017, which earned the band's 3 ACM awards. That song also skyrocketed up the Australian country charts, landing in the top 10 and peaking at number 6 for 6 weeks straight. The Dungarees have also performed at many large music festivals across Canada and even the Tamworth Country Music Festival in Australia. Joining us on the line for Country Party is James. Welcome. So this week you're in Calgary for the Canadian Country Music Awards. How has the CCMA week been for you so far, James?
It has been so great. It's one of our favorite times as a band of the year. We get to play a lot of music. I'll see a bunch of our musical friends.
Yeah, I know. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year, too, and I'm so upset that I'm missing it. I'm seeing all the Instagram posts, and it's, like, killing me. Thanks, everybody.
Well, next year.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that. What on your agenda for this weekend?
We had a list of 20-something things that we had to do for the CCMAs, and a lot of them were goofy, taking pictures of the Calgary Tower, getting recognized, and being recognized as somebody else that we weren't. And so far, we've managed to tick off all of those things. We were nominated for a few awards. We got skunked on all of it. It doesn't matter. It was pretty cool to just be able to take it in and be part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did see that checklist. I actually prepared for this interview first, and then I saw the checklist the day after. And it's so funny. I love it. I had a feeling that coffee would be the first one to be checked off.
And you were totally dead right. It would be.
Yeah, I know you guys got things a little bit easier having Radio Row in the afternoon. Last year it was at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So a common question that I assume you guys get as an artist is about how you either connect with the song that you've chosen to record or what the inspiration was behind a song that you've written. However, with your latest release, 20-something, it's pretty clear that the song is something that nearly everyone can relate to. How did you guys come up with the concept for the music video? It's pretty unique.
Thanks. Thinking about the lyric in the song, one more candle, basically saying one more year on a birthday cake. And when we were sitting down talking to the director, he thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to just have it as one locked off shot, which just basically means that the camera doesn't move. It's the same moment in time, but with all of these different people and how they're experiencing it. We aged 1 to 95 and all these people in between. We had thought about trying one person aging, but we realized that wasn't quite as inclusive. That's the whole idea of the song.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. So What were some of the challenges you faced in your 20s?
Well, I've been playing music for a long time, and throughout my 20s, I was playing music and touring around, mostly Canada, but sometimes over to Europe and the States, chasing a dream. And it's sort of been something that you don't see that overnight success. It's just like any other career where you have to work long hours and put a lot of time before you start seeing the results. Struggling in my 20s would have been just sort of trying to keep pursuing what my passion was.
Yeah, I think that's something that a bunch of us can relate to, regardless of what your career choice path is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for anyone that follows along on your social media, they know that you've done a lot of fun things this summer. One of them was that you got to write and record on a ranch with Andrew Farriss from INXS. How'd you score that opportunity?
It was amazing. So we've been over to Australia 3 times now, and they've really embraced us. The first time we went over, we met Andrew at an awards ceremony, Golden Guitars, which is like Australia's Canadian Country Music Awards. I saw this guy with his great hat. I don't know if you'll notice, but we also kind of big hat guys, Rob and I. We just decided to go over, and one of our friends, while we're walking over, to say, oh, you know who that is? That's Andrew Farriss from the INXS. Oh, that's pretty cool. It turns out that he'd already knew who we were, and he'd been following our song that we just released there. So that was kind of mind-blowing for us. Really friendly guy, and he invited us out to stay at his ranch. And, of course, we thought that he was just being polite. That would be amazing. We'd love to. The next year that we were out there, for the meantime, I had done some co-writing him on Skype. We were a little bit more friendly at that point, and he invited us again. And so this time we said, well, you know what? We're going to do it on our next trip, for sure. So this last trip that we went over, we got to go out to his ranch, and it's spectacular, thousands of acres. So we hung out and just wrote music and just talked music and listened to music, ended up recording some tunes, and it was really quite the experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how did you guys initially get a connection with Australia?
We had set ourselves with a goal. We had won an artist development program in 2016 called Project Wild. With that, we're fortunate enough to have funding for kickstarting the band's career. So we used some of that funding to make the initial investment to go over to Australia. And with some connections, some artists that we knew from Canada that had already been over there, and you just sort of start making cold calls and talking to people. It turned out that people were really interested in trying to help us get over there. And when we got there, we hit the ground running, and our first show was a music festival with about 12,000 people. It was quite an amazing kickoff, and because of great team, things grew very quickly. And so we released a song to radio, and it charted in top 10. After that, all the doors started opening. So it really just took that initial plunge to do, and it was scary and expensive.
Yeah.
But it's turned out.
So I understand that you have a record label there as well?
Yeah, we do. A country label. Some of the artists that are on that label we get to play shows with sometimes. So it's really been neat. It feels really inclusive.
Yeah. Is there anything different between the country music scene there versus here?
It's actually shocking how similar they are. It's tight-knit. There's definitely diehard fans there.
I've always been curious about what it's like outside of Canada and the U.S. I hear about all these artists going on like European tours and stuff like that, and I'm like, that'd be so interesting.
It feels like it's been a decade for country. I think it's exploding in countries where it maybe never would have before.
Yeah. While you were in Australia, did you guys get to do any like traditional stuff? I'm sure on some of your adventures there, you guys held on to a koala and tried Vegemite.
We've done all of the cliche things. Held koalas, eaten Vegemite. We went to the Sydney Opera House. We've seen kangaroos. Actually, kangaroos really are like squirrels or something like
really?
that.
There's that many?
They're everywhere. Oh, yeah. I don't think there's anything left on our list that we haven't done. If you're passing the Steve Irwin Australia Zoo on your way to your next gig, you generally try and make enough time to go hold a koala. Yeah.
One of my other favorite Instagram posts of yours is where two of you guys are standing beside a sign advertising Canadian maple bacon poutine.
Yeah, on fries, it says, too.
On fries, yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. We didn't stop to actually try any.
Okay.
But interesting to see it. They seem to be popular.
So I want to back it up here a little bit to on the ranch. That seems like such an inspiring place to work, especially for country artists. Is there anywhere else that you found gets the creative juices flowing?
That's a good question. We're just sitting around a campfire at the ranch and just coming to the realization of how inspiring that space is. To me, the closest thing would be where I grew up in Yukon. My family has a cabin in a very remote area in the middle of nowhere. And it's sort of the closest thing that I could find to being up there, which I find very inspiring. Being able to be alone with your thoughts and formulate ideas. I think the setting is really important. Going forward, I think we're going to make a real concerted effort to make sure that when we record the writing, that we try and find inspiration from places that maybe you don't think of.
Yeah, very interesting. I had no idea you're from the Yukon. I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody from the Yukon before.
Well, we do exist.
You do exist.
Yeah,
there are people up there?
Yeah. I haven't lived there in many, many, many years, but I still go back.
So you guys have had a very successful year and busy year so far. What's next on your agenda?
I jump on a plane to Nashville and taking the Americana Festival and keep writing until we get that song. Then we've got a handful of festival dates. Yeah, it's steady. We're fortunate that that's the situation that we're in. We'll be back in Australia again in January.
Wow. Well, I hope to see you when you're in my area someday.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today, James.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the chat. It was great.
Yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend here at the CCMAs and that you have lots of fun. I'm sure with the rest of your group there, you guys seem to make it extra fun, especially with those checklists. I really like that.
Yeah, there's no shortage of that, that's for sure.
To my listeners, don't forget to check out the Dungarees' latest single, 20-something, and follow along their journey on social media.